You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the September 13th, 2022 meeting of the LaPorte County Drainage Board. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Roll call.
Joe Cuson.
Here.
Hugh Glasgow.
Here.
Sarah Hefner. Here. Tony Hendricks.
Here.
Rich Mrozinski.
Present.
Steve Mrozinski.
Here.
Brad Adamski.
Here.
Do I have a motion to approve last month's minutes?
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passed. Cable and drain.
I don't see anybody here for that, so I'm just gonna read the report. This is a follow-up from last month when.
Scott Bardale was here last month to request some testing on Pine Lake and Cable and Drain, and me and Nicole Messakar and Amanda Lanners and Chris Havens from Soil and Water had a meeting to talk about it. So I'm going to read this letter from the health department into the record, just so we have it as part of the record, because I don't see Mr. Borrowdale here today. So, dear Drainage Board members, this letter is to inform you that the LaPorte County Health Department, Surveyor's Office, MS4, and Soil and Water have met to discuss the possible contamination of Pine Lake from the Cable and Drain. We have consulted with Dr. Jen Fisher from Indiana University Northwest and are formulating a strategic sampling plan. In addition to this, we are looking at source tracking for any possible E. coli recovered from the samples collected. We will be sure to share our plan once one has been finalized. So that's where that topic is.
And with him not here, we'll just put it off till next month's meeting.
Yep.
Okay. We'll move on then to the monthly reports. Hudson Lake.
Good morning. Georgette Joyce, 7299 East Hudson Point Lane. And yesterday we had a community meeting. There were, I didn't get a exact head count, but we had 70, 80 plus people there. It was held at Monroe's Crossing on Hudson Lake. And our commissioner was invited, though he wasn't able to attend. We had, believe it or not, our assessor, Mike Schultz, there, and the township trustee, Brian Gray, and Hudson Lake Conservation Association president, Zach Krasinski, and people have lived on various times on the lake, some of them 60 plus years. The crowd was extremely frustrated and borderline angry with the state of the lake right now. The levels are seriously low. Lake fronts are mud fronts. People are going to have to hire cranes to pull their boats out of the water. People cannot take their boats from the lift to put it in the water because the distance is too far. They don't know what to do. Their hands are up in the air. Great frustration. One of the things that we looked at was the management of the drain in the sense of when it was open and closed. And in the end of April, it was, so again, I'm doing the best by interpreting what I read. The drain was above the water level was above the drain height, which would assume 24 inches above the weir. Okay, that's high. And the drain was open about halfway, and it bled for 3 days and went down to 15-ish inches. So we lost, 8 to 9 inches in 3 days. It was closed over the weekend and then reopened on Monday without a measurement, left open for 7 days at about a third of the way open, and without a measurement when it was closed. So that is the springtime when we gather our gold, our water, to make sure that we can make it through the hot summer and potential lack of rain. In the beginning of the year, I checked out with the weather and looked up Farmer's Almanac and went to National Weather Predictions, and we were predicted to be dry and hot. I shared that. The DNR didn't necessarily agree, and the actions happened, that action, and we are not surviving. The lake level is, it's not as bad as 2005 when we lost 40% of our lake surface, but it is scary. It is scary for us. When we stop and think about all the things that we've been trying to do, there were safety issues brought up last year. We didn't sit on our hands. We talked to the fire chief and made sure that the fire protection along Lakeshore Drive was not going to use Lakeshore Drive. We got, stone put on the road, and it was regraded this year. Good things came out of that. We worked with the sewer group, and now we are actually the #1 project to get sewers into the area. We are looking to do dredging grants. We've always done spraying for invasive species. That again started when our lake went too low. You get that vegetation growing, the sun gets to places it shouldn't be, and we end up with stuff in the lake that we shouldn't have. So everybody was up in arms. We have been working on let me share again that words like gross mismanagement and frustration and we want to own the drain were repeated often throughout the night. We've worked on 3 sets of goals: a short-term, long-term, mid-term, and long-term. The short-term essentially has been to keep the lake at a decent level. Now our words are, we want the drain closed. We want it inspected, the flow that's coming out of the ditch. Yes, there's seepage, but it is flow. It is not the same what we used to experience before when the drain was closed. When Christine took me on a tour, I didn't witness the water that's going through now, and the drain had been closed at that time. So we believe there's debris. It feels like it's closed, but there's debris blocking it and still causing seepage to go through. That's our belief. So we would like, I'll repeat my asks at the end of this, but we would like to have that drain fully inspected to make sure there's no debris there, and also to make sure there's no other breach, because there's something not right. People who have lived on the lake forever said that flow that's happening now is not consistent with what they experienced. So that was one thing. And then we are committed to purchase equipment to measure the lake level 24/7. We already had our first donations yesterday. We're looking into open water flow equipment so we can measure the water that's leaving the drain. We just know of a company that does it. We haven't been able to figure out price and ability to do that. We're working with the DNR we hope to work with the DNR or get permission with you to do that inspection of the drain. We don't want to wait. We want that to happen before winter comes, so that we don't keep on bleeding this water out of the lake. We did put a camera through that went about 80 some to 100 feet in, but we couldn't get to, we did it from the lakeside, and it's 180 plus feet to get to the valve, so we couldn't inspect it ourselves. And we don't have permission to go and do it ourselves, so we have to work with the DNR or you guys or whoever to make sure that we could do it. We have a person who's in plumbing who has a contact who has 1,000-foot camera, or if we can use one of the manholes that's nearby that's only 40 feet on the other side, we can come from the other side. But again, we don't own these things. It's, we would need permission to be able to access that. So, and then we also are going to create a site that's going to collect all incidents on the lake. So therefore, it'll be one-stop shopping. If someone's flooding, this is where they report it. Someone has an issue with this or that, this is where they report it. This way we can manage lake level, weather, and incidents all in one place, and we can correlate the two so that one day we can figure out where this lake should be. So we're also looking at the tracking of weather through existing sites. And, and we have a commitment to deal with the competing needs of the lake, whether it's dredging or flooding or whatever. So we didn't walk away from, issues of fire protection and all that, and we're not going to walk away from the rest of the things that are important to the lake. We're a community, we're locked arms, and we care about each other. So the ask for the short term is leave the lake alone, leave Mother Nature take its course. This lake existed for 100 plus years without any drain being there and was just fine. So we need the ability to let the lake behave as a lake so we can gather the data to make the appropriate case of where the lake level should be. If we artificially keep on moving it around, it's hopeless for us to actually do that. So the midterm goal is to expedite the operation and potential ownership of the drain going to the community. And I'm going to reach out to Ken Smith and his attorney and see what we can do to get that going. They did contact us and tell us that that was a direction they were, if we were willing, they were willing. They said that the board here was all good with that. Hopefully that was true. And, and so we hope to pursue that as quickly as possible. Obviously, the devil's in the details. We have to know what we're signing up for. Then the long-term goal is to raise the legal average level of the lake. These are all stepping stones, right? We have to accomplish each along the way with your support. So there was questions that came up with the Taylor ditch. There's money that's collected out of our taxes for that. And I know you guys had done the inspection of the valve, and I didn't remember where that money came from, if it came from the Taylor ditch or whatever. And then the question is there funding there that we can get approval to do the full inspection of the drain to make sure it's not compromised and make sure that it's fully closed? So that's a question on the table. Property taxes came up. Our assessor was there, and people are frustrated. That community brings a lot of money to the county and to the area, and it's just not appropriate for people to be paying top dollar if they can't even use the asset that is the reason why they're paying top dollar. So very frustrated, and again with the mud front and not even being able to use the water. I had to take my one boat out, 6 to 8 weeks ahead of time, and the other boat out. I took my pier and my boat out this past weekend because I didn't dare leave it. I can't afford a crane and whatever to take my boats out. And at the end of the day, it's protecting the asset. The lake is healthier when it's higher. And, and when we did the studies, the diagnosis study in 2008, it pointed out clearly. And there is damage that happens when the lake gets too low. There's an uninhabited island. It's no longer an island. It's actually attached to the ground, to the other property because it dried out. All this invasive stuff grew up and no one judged it. So everything that's to the other side of it is all stagnant water. It doesn't get the flow that it used to. Paddle boats and canoes used to go through there, and it's not there. We used to have springs on the Little Hudson, and those springs they weren't able to detect them. What happened? So these are the things that are a great concern to us, and even the use of the public ramp. I mean, they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to put that in, and now you can't launch any boats off because that's on the west side of the lake, and that gets the shallowest fastest. So, and also we're working on dredging grants again, which will help somewhat, but it's not the answer. We really have to keep the lake higher. So even Nestle was talking about the water and how it's gold. Let me see if I can find the quote here real fast. They're predicting that the world may exhaust its fresh water supply by 2040. Now, I mean, some of this is like, I'm not sure if I believe it, but at the end of the day, there is some truth in it, in things that we have to protect our water, because we all are taking water from aquifers near that lake, right on it. That's how we get it, and it's important to us. So our asks are to make a motion to inspect the drain with us, so that we can see if we're going to take it over. We have to be part of the inspection, and we'll make ourselves available. And again, we have a company that could do it. And likewise, to leave the drain closed unless a catastrophic event happens. Give us a chance to manage our lake. If we're going to own it and be in charge of the drain, we have to be able to do it. The handcuffs have to come off.
Are you asking for permission to inspect the drain, or are you asking for this board to incur the cost of doing so? And if that's the latter case, then what are those estimated costs?
Well, we'd have to get that. If I know you'll let us do it, I'll get an estimate to Christine. If we know it could come out of the ditch, the Taylor Ditch Fund, that would be great. Yeah, so I'm not sure how all these things work, but yes, we would be happy to do it with permission.
What is the amount on the Taylor ditch? It's very minimal, I think, and we use that to help
Yeah,
clean the rest of that to get over to St. Joe County.
right. And that assessment is super old from like the 70s. It brings in, it's a very minimal assessment of a few parcels in that area. It brings in, if we're lucky, $1,500 a year, and that money I'm required to send to St. Joe County, and they use that money to maintain the outlet ditches. The only reason I took the money out of there to do that inspection a couple years ago was because we were kind of at a starting over point with our board and my office. We wanted to know where that valve was in terms of integrity. So I took that money out of that fund to pay for that inspection that H&G did a couple years ago. And
Yeah, they did it in May of 2021.
Yeah.
I was there. All right, looking back,
Currently, yeah.
just cut this off. Looking back at the agreement from '92, it says the department, meaning the DNR, has the sole responsibility for the construction, maintenance, and repair of an outlet control structure to maintain as near as possible the legally level established.
Yeah, so that would lead to my next.
Ultimately, it's a DNR. You guys can grant permission, but it's a DNR who really has authority over.
Okay, so I asked that you grant
Even if
permission that,
even if you do, the
Sorry.
DNR still has to ultimately.
But I don't have any way to pay for it, was what I was driving at.
Nor do you
I
have any obligation to.
Yeah, we don't have the obligation to, nor do we have the funding for it, because that money that is assessed at a very minimal amount doesn't even cover everybody around the lake. I send that to St. Joe County for ditch maintenance. So we don't have the funding, or according to the agreement, the DNR is solely responsible for the maintenance.
okay, so
Have to work with them.
So can you still grant permission for us to inspect the ditch, the drain? And then likewise, can we ask that the valve be open and closed or jiggled with to see if there is debris there or something?
Well, to address the first question, we don't have, the DNR has supersedes our authority over that, so they would have to grant the permission and the maintenance. As far as Steve and I were out like 2 weeks ago because we kept hearing it's still flowing, it's still flowing. We checked it and checked it and checked it. Steve and I finally went out a couple of weeks before today. We cranked it down as tight as we possibly could without feeling like we were gonna break it. It's
I have no doubt that you
40
did
years
that.
old.
None at all.
We don't want to strip it out or break it, and because then we're really in a mess. He and I both operated. We got it as tight as we could.
And I totally think, I believe you. I think though that there's debris that's keeping it from closing. So it feels closed and you did a great job at that. But we truly believe that there's something, either that or there's a compromise in the drain itself.
I mean,
Right, and
the structure's super old. It is what it is, and at this point, you probably are going to want the DNR to do some, a better inspection of anything we can get anybody locally to do. I think you working with the DNR, like you've said you've been doing, trying to get jurisdiction over it, keep working with them, is probably the path that you need to stay on.
And
Okay.
what this board can do is give your blessing to do that. That may help with
That's
the
what I want.
DNR. I mean, at least then you can say that you're cooperating in the effort.
Okay, that would be great. And then the other thing is to just keep with a commitment to keep the drain closed so we can gather the data.
It's been closed 90% of the time in the last
And
couple of years.
I
and
understand that, but
don't know why
it's a
there's
spring.
a misinterpretation of the spreadsheets that I send to you. I don't, because in May, it was 16 inches above the weir in May, and it was closed and we had it closed as best as we could.
So I have the
Since it was
sheets here.
16 inches above the weir, and that is 15 inches above the legal limit. So, I don't, we've done, It's been closed the whole
So,
time.
so I have your sheet.
Just haven't had any rain.
Yeah, I just put it in Excel so I can read it easier. And it has right here. So this is exactly off of your sheet.
Yeah.
So, and what you said for the April is exactly right, but then it was left open for 7 days after that. That's where I think and it wasn't measured and that's where I think we fell below what we could sustain.
Well, we haven't had any rain. I mean, the river's at 4.5
Well,
feet.
and that's why you keep the
No.
water
The river's
longer.
at 4.5 feet.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
terribly
yeah, but-
dry everywhere.
If you don't let Mother Nature, if you don't keep the water that Mother Nature gives you when she gives it to you, then you're never going to be able to sustain any of that. And that's our point. That's our point. So, so again, a commitment to keep it closed. We'll do our job to get it inspected and collect data. And if you get a call that says there's a catastrophic thing, you contact us and then we figure out, okay, this is going to be, we have to be partners in this. We have to be partners. And I understand there's a lot of work in it and, people are committed on all sides to do their part in it. But if we're going to own the pain, then we have to own the controls in some way, shape or form. It's just the community. I mean, if you had all the people I was talking to yesterday, you couldn't fit them here today.
Right,
So-
and we're in total support. If you're able to work it out with the DNR and assuming control over it, we are in total support of that. You will get no objection from us.
Okay, so did you make a movement?
So we're gonna make a motion when you're done.
Okay, all right, thank you. There's a host of people and
So do I have a motion to let Hudson Lake work with the DNR on the drain?
Yes, indeed, so moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion's passed, so you can work with the DNR and do your
All
part.
yours.
Okay. Brad Adamski, attorney report. No attorney reports, although I will apologize for my absence last month. I will say that was one time out of maybe 4+ years, so it's not been too bad. Normally, when I have a conflict like that, I'll let Christine know ahead of time, but that didn't even happen. So, again, my apologies. But other than that, no report. All right. Tony, surveyor report.
We had a request from the county planner, and I think Commissioner Brzezinski, who knows, the Love's truck stop up at 300 North and 421 is getting ready to go in, and they need to record a plat, and typically if somebody's recording a plat, they come to this board for an urban drain. But this plat, and I know they filed the code, the engineer surveyor filed the code, but then they put the urban drain certificate on there, but I'm coming to the board today just to inform you that the request for an urban drain doesn't, it's not applicable to this subdivision. There's no easement, there's no stormwater pond that we would take care of or assess. So just telling the board that I'll sign it and I'll just put it's not applicable because there's just a little piece of public roadway and the only stormwater ponds they have on their site is for their site and only for their site. So we wouldn't be involved in maintaining them or cleaning them or assessing them. So we can move them forward. That's all I have.
Okay. Joint boards, any joint board reports? Anybody been in? Have you been to any?
Nope.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, Kankakee Technical Advisory Committee meets a week from Friday at the Yellow River and the Stark Marshall line. They're going to have a on-site meeting / visit, check out the projects that are going on. I believe it's at 9:30 a.m. That's the Stark Marshall County line. I don't know what road that is, but it's at the Yellow River crossing.
What date was that?
A week from Friday.
Yeah, it's the county line road between Stark and Marshall.
A week from this Friday at 9:30 a.m.
Okay. Any other reports? Joint board reports? Claims.
From the bank spraying, so claims are from Dalton's. They did our bank spraying for this year. I have the Behringer ditch at $3,558.50. I have the county line ditch at $6,388.80. The Little Kankakee River at $5,143.82. The Rodman ditch at $11,872.96. the Bull Ditch at $6,198.35, the O'Hara Ditch at $7,950, and the Porter Ditch at $5,949.25. So those, I've been doing kind of a drive around inspection, but I would like to get the motion to approve the claim subject to final inspection now that we've had a good period of, to let time pass to show some results for the spraying.
When did they do the spraying? Had to be recently.
Yeah, it was in July.
Okay.
Is there money in all these?
Yes.
Motion to approve the claims pending inspection by Christine.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the claims with Christine going out to look to make sure everything is okay with them. Is there any more discussion on that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Do you have any more claims?
No, that's it.
That's it? Okay. Do we have any more public comment?
I have one report that came in late last week of a beaver dam on the Cook Ditch that is south of La Crosse on west of 1100 West and south of 2200 South. So here's a picture of it. So I have dispatched an excavator. It was trapped and we're at the excavation point, so I dispatched an excavator to go out and take this out. He should be taking it out this week, so that's
Was that
happening with
Booker?
that. Yep, Bookers, yep.
Okay. Any more public comment? Seeing none, our next meeting will be Tuesday, October 11th, right here at 8:30.
Were there any public comment done?
I didn't see anybody. No.
Motion to adjourn.
Yes, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Oh, you
We
did.
have a motion. Meeting is adjourned.